Hey Caleb, this is Keaton Everett with ABC going over your pigeon video from camp. We're going to go through and talk about your motion, look at your mechanics, break it down frame by frame, and kind of look at and stop and analyze each sort of segment that we look at. You know, we look at balance and posture. We especially look at what your lower body is doing in relation to your upper body, and then looking at your foot strike and making sure, you know, you're putting yourself in a nice healthy position to deliver the ball, and looking at your finish, and we'll just kind of go through and make sure that we're doing something that we can repeat, that we can get consistent at, and that, you know, ultimately we can stay healthy at. All right, so we'll go and we'll start from the start here. You know, the biggest thing that we like to initially look at is just your overall start. You know, your overall balance, your posture, because so much of how we start dictates how we're going to finish. That's important to look at. All right, so you can see you're staying over your back foot. You're nice and balanced up to the height of your leg kick. So that's good to see. A lot of times, you know, kids will kind of rush forward, but you're doing a good job at staying over that back foot. So now at this spot, this is you know, your balance position. All right, this is the timing. This is where everything starts. All right, so what we want to see is we want to see our hips stay closed as long as they can down the mound, and we want to see our hands start to break. All right, so once these hips start forward, we want to see those hands break as this knee and legs come down. All right, so let's watch as we get going. All right, you can see your hands come, oops, I got to skip ahead there. So we have your hands come down, they break, your hips are going, so the timing looks pretty good. All right, very good. So it's kind of hard to see from your foot, but it looks like you're kind of staying over your backside a little bit too long. And what I mean by that, and I'll show you here. Actually, let me go back and do it over your back. That'll kind of make it a little bit easier to see. So draw a couple lines over your head there. You can see that kind of as you start going forward, your head kind of stays over that backside a little bit too long, and you can see this front leg get completely straight, and you just kind of sit back here. All right, it's good to be staying over this back hip. It's good to be staying back there, but we don't want to kind of overdo it and kind of lean back here. So try to just sort of not necessarily think about, you know, keeping your head over your hip. Just kind of let your body go with your hips. All right, don't kind of try to force it to try to get your hips down. I know a lot of times coaches will kind of try to tell you to, you know, really get your hips tilted up, or, you know, kind of lean back, but we kind of just want to keep that posture nice and straight, stay over your back hip, and not necessarily your back knee to get going. But you know, it's not too big of an issue, but it's something to just kind of be aware of, because you do a good job at getting down the hill, you do a good job at you know, getting everything going nice and long, working, and so just something you don't want to kind of have hinder you. All right, so I can't see your foot in any of these frames, but it looks like here's about foot strike. All right, good stride length, good extension, very nice. All right, your arm's in a pretty good spot here, and this front shoulder is not too bad. It looks like it's kind of popping out a little bit early, but not too bad. So then through foot strike, what we want to see is we want to see our hip start to rotate forward before the shoulder starts to turn. You can see as we tick forward here, you know, pretty consistent with kids your age, is you'll see those hips start to rotate with that shoulder. All right, so you can see they're wanting to turn right here, but really they're kind of rotating at the same time. All right, so as we tick forward, you can kind of see everything coming through. So ideally, you know, we'd like to see probably at about this spot here, you know, that front side elbow still hasn't turned over yet. All right, so you're just kind of turning that front elbow over a little bit early. You can have a little bit of power, so just try to keep that elbow closed a little bit longer before that hip starts to get going. All right, so now that hip's going, now everything's coming through. And you can see because you're pulling off early, so because that elbow's out early here, all right, I want you to key in on what your foot's doing back here, and you'll see that pop up off the ground. So you kind of see everything kind of rotate your upper body is kind of rotating everything kind of down towards the side, and you're getting up off that ground. All right, so there's nothing wrong with kind of pulling off a little bit through that release point, but when you go early, this is what happens here. All right, and so if you kind of think about, boxers or punching somebody, the most power that you can get is through your feet, through, both feet on the ground, driving through that punch, as opposed to 1 foot off the ground. So here you're just leaking a little bit. We like to still see you staying through that back leg all the way through your release, so you're creating a straight line with your leg. So that back foot's still on the ground, your head and chest are out over that front foot. So you're just maximizing leg power, and you can see here, it's starting to kind of crunch up into itself, and then it kind of straightens up and comes up. So we want to try to just kind of see that more straight earlier. So at this position, maybe your foot's just kind of starting to come up now, and then it's starting to bend a little bit. So it's just a little bit early. All that is just that front side pull with your right shoulder pulling off early, which is causing you to lose that torque. That left hip and left shoulder kind of working together. Try to get that feel of that left hip coming through first before that left shoulder's coming through, and that'll help a lot. Just working on that right side, staying closed, staying over that backside. So, but overall, pretty good. I like to see a lot of extension. You're doing good at using that long frame to get down the mound. Now it's just a matter of maximizing that lower half to get every last little bit of inch and power out of those legs as we can. So, but other than that, very good. So, very good to see. Definitely on your way to getting better. So, good job, man. Thanks for making it out to camp. Hopefully you had a great time, and we look forward to seeing you again with ABC.